What? Oh, we're live. Okay.
We're live now. Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
But,
Yeah. So, Caroline, I think you were about to.
got it. Okay. So, I don't know if you guys have ever come across this problem, but you know that when we do our Word template, and so I think, Quentin, you weren't there, but you know how you pointed me in the direction of that SEQ for numbering the paragraph.
Right.
So, yeah. And then, so basically, it's a field, it's an SEQ field that you insert to number the paragraphs, and then it renumbers automatically depending on which paragraphs you use. And then, because we always have the last paragraph on every document, I can bookmark that and make that bookmark it, and then I can put that in the heading, and whatever the last number is shows up in the heading. So if you're 14 steps, it says your personal action plan, and 14 steps, if it's 3 steps, your personal action plan, and 3 steps. So that all happens dynamically. But I'm having a problem with the Word document because I've got everything in tables. So I've got the heading on the left. And then, and it's just like a numbered heading, it's on the left. And then that also means that the Word document or the PDF or whatever is narrower. So people don't have to read all the way across the page. Instead of doing the 2 columns, which we normally do, there's a lot of writing. And so we have a wider column, but not too wide for eye tracking, and then a narrower column for the heading. The problem is that the text in some of those cells just goes on, and we lose it. We can't see it in Word. It's like broken off. It's cut off. And I thought that maybe it's because I had don't break the rows across cells. No, pages. Don't. You know how you can do that? Don't break row across page. But if the whole cell is more than 1 page, then it has to, right? You know what I mean? If you've got a row and the row, and there's more content in it than will fit on a page, then it has to go over to more than 1 page. So I've been playing with that, but I can't figure out how to get how to be able to see everything in the table cell. And I'm not quite sure. I mean, we may just have to pull it out and edit it, and then when it goes, it's okay if I do it with the
what if you?
Yeah,
you're just saying for when you're editing the document, you want to be able to read it, but there's too many instructions. Basically, the Jinja's taking up too much room. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Like it prints okay, but when you're editing it, it's not readable.
I am actually not sure if it prints okay. I haven't
okay.
been near a print. I haven't been near a printer. I should check. I'll ask Jeannie today. I don't know if she's coming in.
I don't think when it was meaning print as in print out the document. I think he means when it's the filled in template at the end of the interview.
For the user, when the user reads it, does
visually
it work
on screen too, I guess.
I think that works, but I'm not 100% sure. I have to go back and check that. So maybe if it's just an editing thing, maybe I don't have to worry about it, and we can edit it separately from the table and then put it in at the end.
Well, if you're editing it in Word, and there's you can change the page view, and if you change it to web layout, you know what I mean? Here, I'll do it.
Oh yeah, no, I do know what you mean. You think that might take care of it?
That might let you see the whole table.
Oh wow,
because it's kind of like a draft preview kind of version of it.
That's a great clue, because I just couldn't. I'm not seeing. Yeah, and I suppose if you do web view, it doesn't matter about breaking across pages anyway, because you don't have pages in web view.
Because there's no pages in web view. So yeah, it really feels like that should fix it. I haven't.
Yeah.
I can't remember if I've tried that before, but I think that should work.
That's a really good clue. I'll try that.
It might also,
go ahead.
It might also be a setting for word wrapping. So if you can find that setting, that might
Yeah,
be worth
I
trying
don't,
as well.
yeah, I saw something about that, like if the table was wrapped, but I don't
Table
wrap the
cell.
table.
So if the text in a table cell
Yeah,
word wraps, then it'll go on
Yeah.
to the next line. But if
Yeah.
you didn't say word wrap, then it'll just keep going off out of the table cell to where you can't see it.
in Word it will?
I thought so.
I don't,
Um,
I think
I
that's
think
true in Excel.
that's in a lot of software, so maybe it's not in Word, but it is in a lot of software.
Yeah, I think that's true in Excel. I don't think I've done a wrap in the, I don't normally do
Okay.
wraps in cells, but I'll try that. What I have seen online is people talking about wrapping the table itself. And unless some weird thing happened, I can't imagine. I mean, that's not something that I do. So
Okay.
anyway, but those are good. I'll double check those and see. But that's as far as I was sort of cooking with gas there for a while, and I just got sick, couldn't do anything. But yeah, so that's where I am.
Okay. All right. Great. Michelle, anything that you wanted to check in on?
I think more deep dive stuff, actually. I had another coding like Weaver generation question.
Was it in
but I
regards
think
to that? I think you had pasted a thing in, or you
it's
put a
a
question in
separate
Coding
thing.
Separate
It's a
thing. Okay,
separate thing.
okay, never mind.
Okay.
It's about the code that gets generated.
Okay. Bryce, anything?
Nothing off the top of my head, I think. Yeah.
Okay. All right. I can think of, always could be something other than stand up, I guess, but yeah, I'm trying to integrate the feedback tool, the thumbs up, thumbs down
Oh yeah.
thing. I think I'm pretty excited to see. I think it can be really helpful for getting more people to rate and respond to our forms, which is important for this LSC project I'm working on with Northeast Legal Aid. But one of the things they also want to do is to be able to track outcomes. So I'm going to look into integrating the do you want to be part of, do you want us to follow up with you, basically, that question, to see if I can integrate that into our thumbs up, thumbs down widget. So I'm gonna give that a try. Because the goal is to use that as like a panel that we can then either call that person, or we have their permission to go back and say, okay, you used our system, did you ever file it? And just track it through mass courts potentially. But I think we can't do that without getting the person's explicit permission. So
Yeah.
that should be useful for us in other ways as well. Go ahead, Bruce.
Okay, so I was gonna ask, so it's just the can we follow up with you, or is it? It's some extra.
It's just,
it's just gonna be that, because it's not gonna be like a. I guess it ends up being the same from the user's perspective. I wasn't sure if you were implying that there was going to be some sort of automatic following of the case.
I wonder, that's interesting, because maybe with our e-filing integration, we could do some kind of automatic searching.
Yeah, but if it's not that case, then that's fine either way. Yeah, let me know if you have any more questions on that. I definitely, when we were looking at it earlier this week, I was like, oh yeah, I dropped the ball on actually documenting this and just put as much documentation as I could into PRs, but it was not laid out well. And also no one goes to PRs for documentation. So
yeah, I'll let you know, but I'll try not to bother you though, Bryce. It's okay.
Okay. Yeah.
That reminds me of a thought that I don't know if I ever expressed. I think I did, or we did discuss it before, which is SMS kind of to-do list follow-ups for users. But maybe that's a Monday thing. Maybe that's Management Monday. So
yeah, we have a little time, so I mean, it's the same group of people. We probably could talk about it now if you want.
Yes, yeah, I don't think it makes, or I don't think we have
Is
to put
that-
it off.
Is that still beyond our reach, or? is that
No,
something to
I don't think
consider?
it's beyond our reach. So like basically you mean someone ends the interview, we want to send them a reminder 30 days later to actually do something that they said they're supposed to do, right? Or maybe we don't even, yeah, something like that, basically.
Yeah,
So Made does
you
that
want
right now.
reminders, okay.
We have a issue to track this idea, because I agree, it's like a good general purpose idea. It's not that hard to just write a little code block that does that and like uses cron to check the date. But it might be nice to have like a framework we build for it, which is what the issue was that I created for that idea. So we don't have any forms that where we tried to use it yet. I will probably have something like that in up to code as well, because we want to
Okay.
see like, yeah, remind people, okay, you printed it. Did you actually file it? Did you actually serve it on the other party?
Mm,
Would we have
don't
it
know if-
be, yeah, go ahead, sorry.
Oh, I was just going to say, like, I don't know if 2 examples is enough to generalize it yet, but maybe it is.
okay.
Would we have it be interactive so that, then what
I
happens
mean-
if they, so they get a text message and then they respond to us. I mean, at what, in terms of this back and forth, how interactive would it be?
I wasn't thinking it would be necessarily, I was just thinking like, have a way to say, here's the date and here's the thing you need, a template you need to send the user, basically.
So we
is
just
what I was thinking.
send a reminder, so we
Yeah,
don't set up a way for the user to respond to the reminder.
Well, I mean,
Right.
they also
They
need to
could
say
in the-
like, they also need to be able to say, yes, I've done this, or stop sending me this message or whatever, but.
I don't know if we,
Right. My
Do that.
understanding is it's an immediate like it's a one-off thing. It's like in 30
Mhm.
days we're going to remind you, like we aren't going to keep pinging you until you have it done. We're just going to send you like the occasional reminder, like closer to like, I don't know, at eCourts everyone kept talking about like comparing it to like your like dentist updates, like for dentist appointments where they send you like one an hour like a few days before and then one like the day of, where we would do a similar thing of probably like 30 days out. And if it's a specific time and date that we have, we could do like a few days before and a day of. But if it's just like once, like, start this thing 30 days out, we would just do that once and not
So
follow up.
people like sign up for the reminders, right?
people would have to opt into it.
Yeah.
Yes,
yeah.
yeah.
And what they're signing up for is a reminder, not text this if this is true, text that if that's true. You would just send them a reminder.
Right.
Okay.
I think that's really all we need. I don't think
Okay.
like, I think that's an interesting idea. Like you could have a continuing, but like maybe in the
like a
reminder it would
to-do
be
list that,
come
like,
back and do this thing.
Mhm.
Uh,
But if all this thing is a to-do list that, you check mark, I've done these things. And then you get a complete message at the end when you have done all the things. Anyway, I don't know.
It's an interesting idea too. I guess I'm not sure where we would use that, but I can see right away like where we would use, it's time for you to file this extra motion. That makes sense to me, but like a to-do list where we just want to spread out all the tasks over time.
Well,
not
like,
sure
have you
that
checked
example
with,
yet.
have you checked with the court that, or did you receive your documents? If not, you can contact the court at this number, right?
Yeah, so you could just send that once, I think, right?
Yeah.
You don't
Like, I
necessarily
would-
have
yeah,
to
I
have
don't
Well,
think
people
well,
get it.
if that's the only item, but if there's other items for them to do, like, did you get, like, just what comes to mind for the work I've done? Did you get your certified docket sheets in preparation
So-
for expunging your criminal record, right?
So
Or
to
do you keep up
clarify,
with that?
I was going to say, to clarify all these, are we still talking about one, like we need to schedule like one particular thing, we send you one update reminder and there's just multiple of those? Or are we still thinking on the same, like there might be a use case for sending one reminder more than once to the person.
I just know that I don't always do things the first time I'm reminded. Sometimes it helps to have a multiple reminders. So if the person could go, thanks, I don't need any more reminders, versus, remind me again in a week, or like remind me again sometime, or whatever. That's just my experience as a person in the world, but I don't know if we're designing for me, so that is okay.
Mhm. Well, I guess, I think we've been talking about like you need one reminder for each individual thing, or maybe two, like a day of and 30 days out. But either way, like the person might still change their mind and want to opt out of getting reminders. So especially if you have 3 or 4
for
unique
sure.
things to remind them of. So I suppose that is an important feature to consider, like.
Or
how
it could take
how
them
users
to
are doing.
to-do list that they can check off what they've done so far, and it'll keep track of what they've done so far.
I'm gonna say for
I
that
still
part,
don't really get that feature, but I do.
Okay.
I get
Yeah.
that feature but I think it makes more sense with like a much more integrated thing. Like if you're filing a motion through also a DocAssemble interview that is like on the same server, we could just we already have, oh, this whoever's like logged in here has filed this motion, has filed this motion. We can stop like sending, or we don't need to even send the update in the first place because they already went through the system and like motion,
Mhm.
like sent a motion. But I guess that like it's not perfect, but I guess it's mostly that feels like a much better way than sending on someone else to like a checkbox that is like made for them and is constantly pinging them to do things, when they may not have like they maybe wanted one reminder, but not like they don't need their own checklist sort of thing. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I guess it's just like who are we tracking it for at that point? Like, is it for us to know, did they do it? Which is an interesting idea.
Well, like
Right.
if you're kind of, this is a kind of like, a fuller picture type of thing, like supporting people through the whole process, not just through a particular form, right? So if there are other things that they need to do in order for this to go through, helping them track it instead of them writing it down or them having a document that is next steps, like they can have a next steps document, but if we then go, these are the next steps you haven't checked off yet, just supporting them through the whole process, not just through a particular form.
That's
Feels
fair.
like an interesting idea, like to have like a to-do, like track my life basically app is what you're saying.
Well, or track my, this part of my life.
Process.
I don't
It's
think
the whole
it's
process.
the whole life.
This
but
sounds. I
yes.
was gonna say this sounds a lot closer to. Well, it sounds a lot closer to like I know, like AOIC in Illinois were, looking. Like I forgot who exactly we had the conversation with, but they were trying to consider like essentially a larger process than just like this filing and more of the entire lifetime of the case. And they were talking about a lot of stuff like that. And what that ends up looking like is like just a sort of like case management thing, but for pro ses, where like here's like your dashboard and here like is a case you have. Most people wouldn't have more than one case, but it would be here's a case you have and here's all the stuff you have with that. And so I feel like that I think would be what we want to lean
something
towards.
Between the two, right? Is there an MVP that doesn't create a whole case management system?
I don't quite
I
think
don't
so.
think so.
Because there's like maybe things that we could make, but I feel like the UX of it ends up being like fairly more confusing than just making a case management. And it would be sort of one of those things, you would make an MVP and then, oh, people get confused about this thing too, like enough that like this doesn't make sense to them. Let's add on this other feature and then do that 2 more times. And you have like a full case management system for people and whatever they're doing.
Okay, y'all know better than me, so.
Not necessarily. I mean, it's just my reading response. But terms of who's trying something like that, like Maryland's like passport thing, remember they were talking about it at ITC. I don't know if you remember that
I
panel.
missed that, but I do know, I think Illinois brought up the Maryland's passport stuff too.
Okay. So you might want to look into that, but like, well, I forget, it's hard to Google Maryland passport, but I think that's what they called their website though.
But that's also, I mean, I guess it depends on who you're,
Justice passport. Okay.
who's using the software, the state or the grant partner or whoever, because once you start doing that, I think you're getting closer to forming a relationship with your user, more so than just doing the form and here, and then you go and here are your next steps, because basically you're asking people to come back and then you're responding and then you're asking them to come back. I mean, I realize some of it's a setup, but I think it can also be misleading unless you're going to, that's not a whole lot of support, is the checklist thing. And I think I may be wrong about it, but I think people might expect more of it than we can deliver. I mean, it just seems like a very big project to me to have it be sort of this ongoing, like you say, the passport or the checklist of the process of going through these various things.
I
And-
can say the Maryland project, you know, that was like a multi-year TIG project, right? So just,
Yeah.
I think you're right about the size.
I mean, and the other part about that is, yeah, it's nice to have a checklist, but then of course it's like, well, if you don't have case management, then where are those documents? Where did I put them? Where did I say, you know, it's now you have this little text message saying, did you do this? And you're thinking, I don't know, where are those papers? I mean, it seems to me like,
Yeah, but it's just a part of the process. You don't
Yeah.
manage the whole person's life,
no,
you know?
no, that's what I mean though. I think it just gets more, I think it's going to get too complicated.
Okay, I mean, part of this is inspired by like the CourtBot projects that are like, we'll remind you when your court date is coming up. you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
That's just
Yeah,
like a very
but-
simple, like,
But the court can do that because they do have case management.
I mean, you can do that without the court, You can make a court bot without the court
Well,
initiating it.
what Caroline's implying is that we have to make something akin to a case management system, but outside of the court that also has to sync with all the right update or right information from the court and stuff like that, if we're trying to do something like this and have to be fairly accurate and fairly comprehensive.
Because like
Okay,
what
I
if,
mean, I don't see that, but that's okay, y'all. Like you
That's-
said, you all know this. I mean, like I said, you all know this picture much better than I do.
well, yeah, I mean, I think you know you're saying like a real need. But I
Mhm.
guess it's hard for us to provide that service in a meaningful way when like the value add for someone going to a separate website to track the things that they've done, but it doesn't have the documents, like Caroline's saying, it doesn't have the case itself associated with it. So they can't like go back and look and say, oh, someone sent me, there's a hearing scheduled next week. Like we wouldn't know that unless they entered that information again in our system, right? Like we're not in the best position to do it, but we're providing some of it.
I
in a way
think
that
I
would
would
just
find
add
that useful.
I think
but-
that's totally fair. There's, yeah,
Yeah.
but then it's like,
But
well, are
different
we the
strokes
best
for
people to
different
create that
folks.
resource for people?
Yeah.
If we
I
could like
mean,
create a
I
skeleton
would
that people
find
could
it
use in
useful
their own.
just for it to send me the next steps, output again, the next steps markdown. It's like, oh yeah, I still need
Well,
to do this and this.
I suppose that's
Yeah.
what you could do is you had your next steps document and you could set that up as a text messaging, the framework for text messaging. But I don't know, it just seems like a lot. That's all I'm thinking.
Okay,
I'm really overwhelmed at the minute.
sure.
Well,
Cool.
I mean, yeah, I'm just thinking if someone came and gave us a grant like that, like I still don't know if I would use DocAssemble for that either. That's the only other thing.
Mhm.
Seeing, yeah,
Yeah.
it might be better integrate with the tool that was more meant for that.
Yeah.
Yeah. My experience from trying to build even mildly like dashboard looking things for e-filing has been very difficult in DocAssemble, and it likes to shoot you in the foot every other step. So
I feel
Go
like
ahead.
I'm not getting across that I'm not describing a dashboard, but I'm not sure how to get that across more clearly. So,
No, I think I get what you're saying. I just think, and I understand that you're saying that you think this would be useful.
okay.
I myself would find it frustrating because it's yet one more thing that I have to keep track of.
But
you know,
otherwise you
another-
have to keep track of it by yourself anyway.
Yeah, I know, but there's still, it's just, to me, there's so many of these different things that you log in and you get and you do, and I also think that lots of times when you get text messages, it's an invitation to respond. And that's why I started off saying this whole thing about a conversation. At what point does it stop? At what point are you not interacting with it anymore? And we can say, sorry, we can't help you. We can remind you, and things change. I don't know. I just think it's complicated and it's big. But I do see that you could just do a next steps, like an SMS next steps thing. So, but also that would have to kind of be saved somewhere, wouldn't it? Wouldn't that information have to be saved? Because different people are going to have different next steps. So how would that be saved?
So that's
interview.
Yeah, in the interview. That's not super hard. I mean, it's definitely going to go over like one or two going to go over one text message, but we have like if the way the text messaging from DocAssemble would work is that it would each session that is made for the interview would start like a cron thing, and so every time DocAssemble would look and say, oh, this interview or like this interview session has something that I need to do at some point in the future. If it's at that point, then it also has all of the information from the interview in it already. And so we would have like, oh, here's the link to your next steps document /PDF or whatever. And we could send that. It's mostly the going back and trying to have anything more than just like, oh, in 20 days, I will send you a text that says this. That's the more difficult part that I think. I still think that the text messages are a great idea, and I think we could do them, but it's trying to have any other additional interaction on the DocAssemble side is what makes it like difficult to do.
And this is, we're assuming people have an account and we're not wiping all their stuff every 30 days and things, right? That's what
Or at
we're
least
saying.
that they put their information in, and they, again, it would be opt-in, and you can say, if you want these reminders to continue, respond with yes.
Yeah.
Or something, right?
Well, I think the opt-in probably should happen in the interview, that they consent to get it.
Yeah.
And then we should have an opt-out, is my guess, from each message.
For every time you get a text.
Yeah, if we could
Yeah.
if we could set it up such that they opt out of just messages for that interview or whatever, instead of trying to send the stop to
all
the number,
messages.
which blocks all numbers or all messages from that number, which means further text things. If they do another different interview, would not work at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't know if the stop feature is built in to DocAssemble's text message. I think like each text message provider has to support it.
Well,
Maybe.
it doesn't, it's just an answer to an interview question, and we can do further action based on that answer. Like DocAssemble receives the answer, right? When it does SMSs, it's like interacting with the interview in DocAssemble.
Not in this way, no. You can interact with an interview through SMS. Maybe we could link those two together. I don't know if you could actually. But I don't think the way we're considering it, or I think we had been considering it, it was just going to be a one-off text message that sends. I guess if we wanted to, we could try to start a new, like, here's the follow-up interview session, and then send them the results of that, which would start off with, here's what you need to do. Do you want to do more stuff? And then they could respond with no. That might be technically feasible. I don't know though. I
thought the text messages were interactive, so maybe I'm.
There is a system for interactive text messages in DocAssemble.
Yeah, it's not just like all text messages that we
don't know if it still
interactive.
works actually, but it might not even work anymore.
Jonathan hasn't done a ton of stuff with it, but he has like occasionally people will hop into Slack and be like, hey, I tried using this. And he'll mention, yeah, I wrote that once back in 2018 and haven't used it much. I'll patch this really quick.
Yeah, I think
So I
you
think
fix it if it is broken. You're right.
Yeah, but I think the general, like, the idea that it's not super polished is probably correct. In terms of, I don't know what it looks like or does. Either way.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting to think about that. Like maybe just MVP, like it's not great. Like you'd like people to be able to reply by text when you send them a text. But if we're going to let people set up like 10 messages in their interview, we want to let people stop those from coming through. But maybe the MVP is just having a link in each message that takes them to a place to stop the.
Oh, I see. Yeah, that's a possibility too. Yeah.
That's
like
that's something that we can
unsubscribe.
do. Yeah, exactly.
We do also, I think, looking at what you're doing in May, do like SMS or like email. Should probably be an option. And I don't think it's possible I don't think DocuSimple has the same thing set up for emails. So I mostly all that to say, I think the link is probably good.
There is an email interface to DocuSimple, but I think it requires setting up a mail server on the DocuSimple server. And
okay.
You'd have to send it from that address, which is going to be a nightmare.
That would be a lot. Okay. That's so funny though. I didn't know there was an email interface.
Yeah. Oh, it's not even really documented. SMS interface is documented, but not the email interface.
Okay.
Cool.
Here, I'll link it on the chat if you want to look at it, Chris, or anybody. Okay, but anyway, yeah, that's a good idea. I mean, honestly, like even if we're saying we're skeptical of the full interface for checklists, actually, it seems like even just to do the basic reminder, we would need some of the same features. So if someone wanted to implement it, they probably could with the parts we'd have to do. So
we could just like set up basics and then see how people go who wants to develop further, what the interest is. I think maybe that would be the way to go.
Yeah.
I guess so. I still think we should at least start with like maybe trying to make a general, like, here's a way to send one message and try to like document it such that this is one thing, or don't send multiple things to, or like don't set up multiple messages to send from someone or send to a user, because like they'll want to opt out eventually and that's not set up. But we could still have one way to set up like a good one thing. Just like, yeah, because it feels like one of those things of once you start adding all these other 20 features, then we'll never get started on it because it gets to be really complicated. And so
that's
we can
fair.
keep it to a minimum and just say, this is how we like, and like we could like, we'll do it internally and we'll know how to do it. We can also document it. So like other partners, if they're interested in, they can be like, oh, okay, yeah, they'll read. And most of the partners are good at reading. And if they're like, this is something I want to do, they'll bring it up with us and we'll work on it more then. But I think just trying it out with something is good too. I don't think we should stop until it's like has all of the nuts and bolts.
Yeah, I think that's fair. And I think like for an MVP implementation, if we didn't have the opt-out feature, I think that's okay because people won't discover it that quickly. I could try working on it and then using it up to code. So because that I can control the experience and let people know, hey, you'll get 3 reminders. You're agreeing to get those 3 reminders now versus just unleashing it onto the wild. But the truth is, like, we don't really have people using our features in the wild that aren't meeting with us on a weekly basis right now. So it's okay.
Yeah, that's fair.
At least this kind of very obviously pro se directed feature. Yeah, there's some folks using our tools in private sector, but they're using it in a way that wouldn't need this kind of feature.
Okay.
All right. Anything else?
I have a question, and this may be a Jonathan Doc Assemble question, but what, are we gonna have to do anything? You know, this new Google Analytics 4, GA4 coming out this summer. Are we gonna have to do anything about that?
Pretty
Like
sure I saw
change-
Michael Hofrichter asking questions about it a while ago
Oh.
on the chat. Yeah, that's a great question. Let's see. I think it's supported now. I think you just have to convert your ID.
So you have to get your GA4 ID and then use that in your config instead of the Google Universal Analytics.
I think so.
Okay.
We'll have to adjust the dashboard setup interview if that's the case. I think. Oh no, we don't do analytics. We do the other stuff. Okay, never mind.
I can't remember if there's anything else special you have to do because it looks like he's still using a V3 ID in the example.
Mhm.
Just looking at the documentation page, but I'm pretty sure you can't get that anymore.
You can't get that Universal Analytics ID anymore?
They
I don't-
won't give you a version 3 anymore. They probably only will give you version 4.
Google Analytics?
Google, yeah. Like if you got a new one, right?
Oh, right.
That's what I
Yeah.
thought because they're sunsetting it. I would imagine they like stop giving the new ones out for a while before they give.
Yeah,
old
but
ones
they're
out, I mean.
sunsetting it July 20. Oh, I see what you mean. So they don't want anybody starting new. They want them, if they're going to start new, they're going to start with Google Analytics 4
Yes.
and
Yeah,
not
I think
start
that's
with
the idea.
Universal. Yeah.
I think so. Maybe you can
seems
find it on
right.
the chat.
I did a quick search for Google Analytics and didn't see anything about version 3 or version 4.
Excuse me. Okay. Maybe I'm remembering it
Kristen,
wrong.
When you said the chat, you mean which
Slack.
chat? You Dr.
Doc
Slack.
assembles
Okay.
Slack, yeah.
Okay, that's what I thought. I wasn't sure if that's what you meant. Okay.
Oh, messages older than 90 days are hidden.
On
So
Slack. Yeah.
We're no longer
Yeah.
a sponsor.
All right. Well, I'm sure it's going to start to come up again in the next few months. I just thought it was something we ought to wonder. I just don't, know about.
yeah.
Yes.
All right. Well, I'm going to stop the recording.